Dr. Courtney Heaton, and I'm a lecturer here in the Animal Sciences Department at Auburn University.
And my name's Maggie Justice, and I'm a PhD student here in the Department of Animal Sciences at Auburn University.
And we're out here at the beautiful Auburn University Equestrian Center, where we have research, teaching, extension events, and many extracurriculars, such as the NCAA equestrian team and the IHSA equestrian team.
And our model for today's video is Tula, and she's a member of the IHSA team here at Auburn.
Today we're going to be talking to you about how to estimate the weight and height of your horse. This is really important for numerous things, such as knowing how to properly dose for deworming, giving medications, and to let your vet know. You can also estimate the weight of your horse to assess any dietary changes you might need to make. So there's a couple of different ways we can assess a horse's weight. One of the most common is going to be the commercial height and weight tape. These are really handy and are available readily at many of your local feed stores, co-ops, or easily accessible online. The other method we're going to talk about today is using a weight formula, which it requires a little more kind of hands-on and maybe a partner to help you out, but has actually been proven by research to be a little bit more accurate than the weight tape. So let's go ahead and show you these methods. So weight tapes can vary depending on the manufacturer. So it's very important to follow the directions, and it's very easy to get different weights on your horse depending on where you're measuring them. So what I like to tell people is be consistent with yourself. Follow the directions on this, but let's say you always have this tape line up right, midway point over her withers. Make sure you do that every time so that you can assess your horse's weight. You always want to make sure your horse is used to seeing the weight tape. Some of them really don't like the kind of white flimsy tape flying around them. So it's a great idea to have a handler holding your horse for you. So you'll have the instructions on your weight tape, and it says measure the horse's heart girth. Use this side of the tape to measure the heart girth by placing the tape around the horse's body just behind the front legs. You're going to pull tight until you see a slight depression. This is another instance where it might be handy for you to have a handler helping you. You want to make sure that tape is not twisted or tangled. Does it look good, Maggie?
You're good.
Awesome. What I'm going to do is just pull slightly to depress this. I'm actually going to scooch this just a little closer to her withers. Okay. This has her estimated at about 916 pounds. Very important when you drop this weight tape that your handler is prepared so that you don't spook your horse. The next method we're going to demonstrate is using the weight formula. Like I mentioned previously, this is actually a little bit more accurate than the commercially available tapes. But many people find the commercially available tape easier to use than doing this formula. But if you're like me and you're not a huge fan of math, luckily our phones have calculators. It's pretty easy to get this done at home. These tapes are readily available at Lowe's, Home Depot, and even at Walmart. It's very important to get a soft, flexible tape. Now, this one's pretty long. Some of the clothing tapes you might get at Walmart or other stores might be a little short. So this is where a second person can be really handy. Now, when you're measuring using this weight formula, you're going to measure from the point of the shoulder, which if you feel down your horse's shoulder blade, you'll kind of feel a slight, basically a little point sticking out, where that limb will then kind of change directions. That's your point of the shoulder. We also want to focus on the point of the ischium, which is also the point of the buttock, and that's back here. So again, if I feel down the horse towards her hindquarters, I can feel where that change in direction is, okay? This is different than if you were to measure your horse for a blanket, where we use the middle of the chest to the middle of the tail head. So just keep that in mind. For this formula, I need the heart girth and I also need the body length. So let's go ahead and start with the body length. We're going to make sure our horse is standing approximately square, so we can adjust Tula a little bit. And because we're taking body length, it might be beneficial to set your horse up, take a measurement, maybe walk him around, reset him, and you can average those just to get a more accurate picture of what that weight is. So you'll notice how this is at a slight upward angle. This is normal. This is what you want to see going to that point of the ischium. So that's 64. And then you're going to measure the heart girth of your horse. I like to go about 2 inches behind the elbow. And it might not be over the tallest point of the withers, but that's okay. Again, we just want to be consistent with ourselves. That's 70 and a half. The formula you need to use for these calculations is heart girth times body length divided by 330 for mature horses. So this gives us an estimated weight of 963 pounds for Tula. If you have a yearling, you can use heart girth times body length divided by 301. And for a weanling, divide by 280. Although these tools are very handy to use at home and you can assess yourself how your horse might be changing weight, the only true way to get an accurate weight on your horse is by using a livestock scale. So making a trip to the veterinary hospital, such as at Auburn University, or another operation with a livestock scale is very beneficial. Next, we're going to talk to you about estimating your horse's height. You can do this with a measuring stick, as shown here, or using the other end of your commercial height and weight tape, which I'll demonstrate in just a second. The first thing you want to do is make sure your horse is desensitized or used to this object, because it can be frightening for some of them. We already did this with Tula. Another important thing to remember is you want to completely make this height stick to its tallest height. That way you can get an accurate reading. You can see here we have 14, 15, 16, 17. These are our markers for hands. A horse's height, 1 hand equals 4 inches. The next thing I'll do is pop out this top part, and to make it a little less scary for her, I know she's not 17 hands tall, so I'm going to bring this down a little bit and approach at her shoulder. So we always want to make sure we approach our horse from the shoulder, and having a handler to help you set up your horse square and on level ground is a really good idea. Like I mentioned previously, horses' height is measured in hands at their withers, which is the tallest point over their shoulder. So this is 14 is 14 hands, 57 inches would be 14.1 hands, 14.2, 14.3, and then 15 hands. So there's no such thing as a horse that is 14.4 hands tall. I'm going to slowly bring this down until it's flush. So Tula here is 14.1 and a half tall. And again, this might vary because she's not on the most level ground out here in the pasture. So putting her someplace such as concrete or in a grooming area can help you get the most accurate measurement here. So just like when using a height and weight tape to measure your horse's weight, it's very important to read the instructions. Here you can see it says place toe here and pull tape tight. So I'm going to approach my horse again from the shoulder. They're going to be approximately standing square and on level ground. And I never want to get down on my hands and knees for a horse, so I'm just going to be really kind of careful as far as moving slowly so I can put my toe on this tape. I'm actually going to go ahead and shift it around so that y'all can see it a little bit better. one of these requires a little bit more kind of eyeballing to see where the tallest point of the wither is. If you go like this, you're not going to get an accurate reading. You need to keep it nice and straight up against the horse. You can always have a friend maybe hold a pencil or a ruler, something straight over the wither so that you can get a more accurate reading. But here we've got about maybe, again, 14.1 and a half. But I did want to show you how if you step on this wrong, you can alter your horse's height. So let's say I don't listen to where it says to place my toe, and I just kind of stick it somewhere, you know, okay, I drop this on the ground. My horse magically becomes much taller. So very important for you to follow the directions on these tapes. Thank you for joining us and watching our videos today. If you have any more questions, be sure to visit us at www.aces.edu.
Or contact your local regional extension agent. Thank you, and
War Eagle!